are you feeling?
I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Me too. I think it's been a long time coming, right?
Yes, you've been thinking about this for a while.
I have indeed. And it's actually funny because I feel like the more time that passes, there's more to talk about. And so it's like, oh my God. But I think now is the right time to start, and we can really get into the mind shifts that are happening or that need to happen.
Yeah.
So thank you. And thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for
today.
having me. Of course.
Of course. So welcome to Mind Shifts. My name is Markiesha Patrice, and I'm your host. And Mind Shifts is a series that focuses on how do we adopt and explore new technologies? Like, what's the mind shifts that are required? How do we change our perspectives? And so each week, I'll be talking to a new guest who's actively working in the tech space, focused on a specific technology. These first few series, we're going to talk a lot about AI, because AI is taking over the world. And it's no surprise, it's no secret. And I want to make sure that our audience, that you, the viewers at home, our friends, our family, the people who we care most about, understand what this technology is and how it's positioned to truly transform the world. And so with me, who's joining me for this conversation today, is my dear friend and also super brilliant technologist, an entrepreneur and badass woman, Marsha.
Thank you.
So Marsha, will you introduce yourself to the audience? Let them know who you are, what you do.
So my name is Marsha Fils. I am a strategy and analytics associate at Google. On the side, I also dabble a little bit in real estate. I have my real estate license in Maryland. I'm also part of a team on Compass, and I'm also a real estate investor. I have a couple properties across the Northeast. So this is obviously a topic dear to my heart, especially being in the analytics space, specifically people analytics. We are actively thinking about AI and how to integrate it into our work and how to integrate it into my personal life as well as someone who does many things all at once. So
right, you and I are like twins in that. I feel like every time we talk and we catch up, you're doing a whole bunch of things, I'm doing a bunch of things,
yes.
But there's always like this overlap. So I appreciate being able to share this platform with you and having you kind of having the honor of having you come on this platform.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. But I want to get started with maybe like, what has been your POV or your initial like reaction to AI? Like, what are your initial thoughts on what it is? Like, should we be afraid of it? Kind of talk to me a little bit about what your immediate reaction to it was.
So, AI is such a buzzword, and most people, including myself until recently, never really understood what it is. It's one of those like hot topics. Everyone just wants to throw in AI everywhere. And that started to irritate me. So I decided to take the initiative upon myself to really learn more and get deeper knowledge around exactly what does AI mean. Mm-hmm. And it was shocking to me to learn that AI has already existed in our world.
I think everybody, what people don't realize, and I'm glad that you said that, is we have been living with AI for the longest time. It's been in our homes. It's been in our pockets. Yep. It's been on the streets. Yep. It's always really been here. But I think that recently there's been this hype and overzealousness about what it is. And I think a lot of that probably came from maybe ChatGPT, right?
Absolutely ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT democratized it because for the longest time, it was a tool used amongst businesses to provide to their consumers. Now consumers are actively engaging with the platform themselves and being able to see the power of it. Mm-hmm. So I think that was like a huge shift when it was brought into the world. Consumers and, people of the public are like, oh my God, this exists. But in actuality, AI has existed in our texts. Like when you're building out a sentence and then it's able to just generate what the potential options are as like finishing your sentences for you. Right. That's AI. That's machine learning or generative AI.
Right.
Don't know exactly which one it is, but it's one of the subsets of AI, right?
Absolutely.
When you're thinking about like the YouTube, the recommendations, that's AI. Like
Right.
all of those like predictive analytics, all of those
Yes.
like recommendations that you're seeing, and you're like, oh, this is based on similar things that you liked in the past. That is AI. And so it was astonishing to me that, oh wow, this has already existed. It's just now taking on a new form in the sense that now we are actively able to engage in it and have
Right.
conversations with it.
Right. And I kind of want to even like take a step back, because we started using some big words: predictive analytics,
Yes.
generative AI,
Yes.
machine learning.
Yes.
And I think even those terms are almost too big to fully understand. I know there's experts out there who use those words interchangeably. But when you have to contextualize it for a broader audience, it's still difficult for folks to understand. And so maybe starting with, again, kind of going back to when you first got excited about the technology, like what was that moment for you when you were like, you see the opportunity or you see the usefulness? Like, tell me about that.
So I think for me, being in the space that I am in, that is Google, and not to talk about that company per se, but that's like something that we're actively thinking about. How do we integrate AI into our work, into our professional lives? How do we become more efficient and more effective and more productive? And so, I'll be honest with you, the reason why is because I don't want to be held back. I don't want to hold myself back. This is an opportunity to take advantage of a technology that can absolutely be make you feel more productive and make you feel more efficient. Not just feel, but actively do that and be. And so I think that for me, I recognize its power and realize I need to learn this, because if I don't, we're going to see a larger gap, not just in wealth, not just in technological access, and every aspect of life. I'm going to be, if I don't, I'm just going to be left behind.
Right.
And I was like, I had this fear of being left behind. I'll be honest with you. That was the motivating factor.
It's so I want to touch on a few things that you mentioned there, right? The moment and the productivity. So for me, I've been in tech and in marketing for over 10 years now. I've built a whole career of it. And the moment where I was like, oh, this is about to change the game, it wasn't even the ChatGPT text generation stuff. Because even remember, it was so elementary when it first came out.
Yeah.
It was overly expressive, using too many adjectives. It was all over the place. And I was like, this is a waste of my time. Actually, it's better for me to write the copy and the language myself so that I can communicate the messaging that resonates with my audience, right? So that wasn't even the game changer. The game changer was when DALL-E and Midjourney came out. Yeah. So if you aren't familiar with DALL-E or Midjourney, those are image generating tools. So you can use AI and it's text to image. So you can text a prompt and it'll generate an image for you. And so with those tools, from a marketer, for a creator, for anybody who's thinking about how do I visualize an idea that I have in my head and turn it into something visual, that for me was the game changer. Because it's like, okay, if it can take my words and create an image, and again, it wasn't that great.
Right.
But we knew that it was the start.
Yeah.
And sometimes for me, when I think about it, is like the start is enough. Yeah. And then you can be patient. You're going to keep working with it because you see what it can do for you. Yeah. So I always found that to be interesting. But one thing I want to go back to that you said that fear was the motivator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what I've constructed, because I'm a marketer, right? Yeah. And I think about the journey. I think about how users experience things. What is their user journey?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so fear is actually where the journey starts.
Yep.
Right? And a lot of people are fearful of what is this going to mean for me in my personal life, for my professional life, for society as a whole, for the greater good. And I want to talk about those things, but how did you overcome that fear, first and foremost?
For me, growth is like one of my biggest life values. And in order for you to truly grow, you have to confront fear and you have to be uncomfortable. You kind of have to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable. So I embrace that often in my life. So for me, it was just that that part of that journey all over again. I can't speak to others, but for me, it was definitely that I was going to recognizing that AI requires a whole new skill set. And I knew that like if I didn't start now,
Right.
it was going to take me longer to catch up. And it's already, and not to say that you're not early. We're not, we're very, very early in this.
Absolutely.
Very, very, very
Absolutely.
early. But for me, it was important for me to be part of that journey. This, like, you know, to stay alongside how quickly it's moving. I wanted to move just as quickly. So confronting fear is something that I do often. So I guess that's
you and me both. Okay. All right. No, I think that that's good because I always hear if it's not fear, right? If someone isn't motivated by the fear, then they're motivated maybe by the curiosity. So they skip that. So again, my journey, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you my mind shift journey of how I think this happens is it starts in fear or maybe the unknown or I'm curious about this thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it starts in fear and then it moves to curiosity. And some people don't always have the fearful piece.
Yeah.
Right? It's not always everybody starts at the stage of fear, but the way that AI kind of was introduced and then the media took over the narrative and now everything is about AI and in the frontier companies, right? And so it started from that place of what does this mean for me? Right? What does this mean for my life and how this is going to go? And so I wanted to know for you, outside of the role that you have, you know, we both work in tech, but I want to know in your personal life, when did it start making sense for you to use in your personal life?
Ooh, you know, honestly, it didn't take form until I started to use it a bit more in my professional life and really start to play around and take the time to like learn the technology behind it, like understanding what the difference is between generative AI versus machine learning and understanding a bit more, like getting a bit more granular than the high level AI. Like, what does that mean? So I wanted to just understand that from a professional standpoint and that build upon like using it in my personal life. So now I use it a lot more in terms of like just generating ideas and like, I also use Gemini a lot as like a brain dump. Like, here's everything I'm thinking about. Here's what I want to do. Please structure this to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Like my thoughts are just everywhere. I have so many interests. So like make this in a uniform way and communicate this effectively the way I would want to communicate it. And I get to tweak it and do all the things. So that was when I really found the power. Now I use it. I mean, I've had a conversation the other day and now I'm going to use it to create weekly meal plans and say, hey, this is what's in my fridge. Like create recipes based on what I have. It's just helpful to kind of have that like second brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you said second brain.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the shift. That's the first mind shift is we can't think about AI as a replacement. It has to be augmentative. It has to be in addition to.
Yep.
Right? Because if it could take everybody's job, it would have already done that. Right? We'd all be living off a UBI somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case, right? So I think the first mind shift that you even talked about now is understanding that it is a tool to help me. Yes. It is my second brain. It is a productivity enhancement.
Yes.
And I found that very similarly. I think immediately, maybe because I'm in the creative space, my mind is always generating new things anyway, similar to you. I used it as a brain dump. And then going back to the image stuff, I was just creating stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I didn't just use it to polish my writing or give me, ideas. It was really about using it to take what's in my mind. I want to see it. How do I take what's in here and put it out into the world?
Materialize it.
Exactly. Yeah. And part of that even comes into the fact of even editing stuff.
Yep.
Right? Like I wanted to play around with podcasting and I wanted to play around with creating my own content. And it was so simple to approach it when you knew, I'm not doing this alone.
Right.
I have my second brain. I have my other person. And I can go into this thinking about it as I have a tool or an army, Swiss Army knife actually,
right,
behind me, and I can use it as I'm building this out.
I've never, so I'll take a step back. I don't want to completely diminish the fear that AI is going to take over people's jobs, because they will absolutely take over jobs. However, I've always been in this mindset with technology that technology will be there to enhance our productivity, right? It's going to eliminate the tasks that we don't want to do. And that's kind of what AI is doing in a more accelerated fashion, but it's happening. And this is why I think that, and this is where that fear came in, because I'm like, oh man, those skill sets that I thought I needed to do to complete my job, AI could do it. And they want to do the stuff that I don't want to do. So that requires me to evolve. That requires me to elevate my mind to be like, okay, now that I have this tool, what more can I do? And I think that when it comes to that, it's the relationships. I feel like people forget that, like, we are still humans. You can't replace technology with, you can't replace relationships with technology. You still need to build connections. We are still humans. And so what AI or what technology allows us to do is to forge better and build on our relationships. Like, I don't want, like, I think that's been my, like, you know, this is how I've told people, hey, don't fear too much. Embrace it right now and see how it could be a positive impact, how it could take a positive impact on your life. Because it will free you up to spend more time with your family and your friends and do all the things and experience life and do all the things that you've been wanting to do without being stuck in front of a computer.
I want to go back to something that you said, because you're literally walking us through this journey that I have, right? Again, I think we started with fear.
Yes.
We moved to curiosity. And now you said action. What can I do now that I have this tech, right? And I think that is, to me, that is the biggest aha moment. That is the put a battery in my back and I can run through any wall.
Thank you.
You know, because I now have this, I can do anything. So if I can do anything, if I don't have to do a job that I don't like to do, if I don't have to do a task that takes too much of my time, what can I do with that time?
Everything.
The possibilities are endless.
Endless possibilities. I mean, I think that it just opens up a new world. And also, one of the things I've had to learn, actually, which will make for better relationships, is how to effectively communicate. Because you have to tell this machine exactly what you want. There's no, you have to be able to describe your feelings.
Right.
It's going to do exactly what you say.
And what you want out of it.
Exactly.
Because again, it's only as powerful as we are.
Right.
So if you are someone who's never been an audio editor, right? And you just tell it, hey, I want it to sound a certain way, it's going to give you some crazy output.
You have to be very specific.
If you are a very well-known, like if you know your stuff at audio engineering and you give it a specific level and I want it to be this, and it will do that thing, and now you don't have to, like, that's the power.
That's the power.
That's the
efficiency.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And you'll have the time to, like, tweak it, you know, as an audio editor, using that example, you know, some of that. And I don't want to dismiss the creative process, because sometimes that's part of the process of determining what exactly you want.
Right.
But if you already know what you want, you could at least build the foundation rather quickly and then build, you know,
build from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit more about, now that we kind of understand a little bit about really what it can do and how, and your perspective on it too, and even some of the mind shifts that you've had around the technology, I want to talk to you a little bit about how it's in real estate, right? Because that's your baby. I know that you've been in this space, and I've been to your properties, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful that you're continuing down this path. Because you're going to be my realtor soon. But I want to talk a little bit about it, because I think real estate is a field where we're not buzzing about AI. We're buzzing about it in, like, art and entertainment, and even just tech, but real estate, what is the use case there?
So some of the use cases that I've come across is actually this is the dark side of AI and dark side of machine learning, is, you know, when I see potential use cases for making decisions around mortgage applications, which, as we've known, and as in our communities,
Yeah.
there's redlining, there's all these different things
Right.
that have created such bias towards certain groups of people, and allowing, and this is definitely where we need to be more diligent and make sure that the data being used in these machine learning models and these AI models are taking into consideration all kinds of people, all types of people, and it's not perpetuating the existing bias we see today. Because in those mortgage applications, you know, if this person has a particular credit profile, or if they fill out the race in their application,
Right.
then they might skew them to be like, okay, this person is less qualified. And so that's where I get a bit nervous, in at least in the real estate space. But there's other use cases more positively. A lot of real estate agents are using AI to develop marketing materials and just sharing the descriptions of properties. If anyone doesn't know this, Zestimates is machine learning. That is using AI. It's looking at past sales and being able to determine, based on the property you have, 2 beds, 3 baths, 2 beds, 3 baths, 1,200 square feet. This is the average sale price in the area, and they're able to tell you what your home value is. So we're seeing, you know, more and more accuracy in that. But yeah, they're still developing. I mean, we're still really early.
Yeah, I mean, early, absolutely early. I want to touch on 2 things. One, love the marketing, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you a different use case outside of real estate, but something similarly interesting, because I was with my makeup artist and I was telling her about the show, and I'm like, I'm gonna go shoot the show, and she's like, oh, what's it about? And I tell her what it's about. And then she tells me about a challenge that she's having in her business. She's got to attract a different type of clientele. And I'm like, oh, well, you can use AI to do that. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, girl, you can create an AI avatar and teach it, like, you know, generate your makeup styles on that avatar and use that avatar for marketing. Yeah. And that was like mind blowing to her. She's like, wait, what? Because she thought she had to go out and recruit different clientele and bring them in. And I said, you can do this all at home. Yeah. And so when I think about these use cases, and I say that for marketing, it's because it's stuff we're not even thinking about. Like, and to me, the innovative part, that's the step. When you get from fear to the action part, the next thing is to innovate. Yeah. How can I innovate and change my life? So the innovation is happening with Zestimates, with real estate agents using it to create their marketing materials. I think that's so powerful.
It is. It's powerful. But then as you're saying that, I'm also like, oh man, that's another job taken. Yeah. You know, like I don't want to just gloss over the idea that AI will take jobs in terms of like your certain skill sets. If you're able to develop it through AI and develop like likeness, then, you know, those individuals that would have been initially sought out for that role will no longer be needed. That's true. Right. And so that, again, we're in this period of evolution. And I think that like and I'm so happy you're having this show of MindShift, because it really does. You really have to change your whole way of thinking as you approach this to see, okay, what's next? Now that I can no longer do, or not that you can't no longer do it, but like
people are going to remember, like we have to think about this. It's not happening tomorrow. Right. The same way that like it's digital, slow. You know, we went from the fax machine to the cell phone. It didn't happen overnight, right? So it's going to take some time. Right. But the most important thing is, to your point, is to just change the way that you're thinking about it. Be a little bit more open. Right. Think with a maybe an AI first mindset, right? So that you don't get left behind. Yeah. And I know it's sad. It's like, okay, maybe we won't need the models to come and be paid, but that's saving time and efficiency. That is. That's creating more demand for her makeup studio that she can then hire an assistant for that can help her, you know, prep for each client. So it's taking some jobs, but creating new jobs. Creating new jobs, correct. And so I think that's part of the shift too. Yeah. And a makeup artist is a great example of one type of job that won't go away. It won't. It will not go away. So you have to really think about what will stay and what will be elevated. Right. Because certain
lack of a better term, but physical labor, like certain plumbing, electricians, like those things. We are a long way before you think robotics is coming in to take over those. We are a long way from that, in my opinion. But in those instances, then think about those skills, and maybe that's where you want to get into. You do have to think about what you need to do to elevate and learn how to be more productive in the society with the introduction of AI. It is
absolutely.
Quite the mind shift.
Well, I want to get back to something you said, because I don't want to gloss over this, because this is also something near and dear to my heart, and that's very important, is the ethical consideration around AI adoption. And again, it's not going to happen very fast. It is going to still, I mean, it's going to probably happen faster than any other technological advancement that we've ever experienced. But the speed of it, it's not going to be, I don't know. We'll see next year, maybe generative AI and AGI are achieved in a crazy way. Lord. But, and I want to say that correctly, AGI, generative AI already exists. AGI
augmented.
Yes, that's where we're going. But I want to talk about, again, the ethical considerations when we're thinking about not just in real estate, but in everything. Kind of where do you see us really needing to pay attention to the ethical kind of landscape?
A couple of different things are running through my mind. One, we have to, I'm actually quite nervous about AI becoming like sentient and becoming like humans and thinking that they have emotions and feelings and responding with that based off. And it's like, it's weird because like it actually opens up the holes in our society because it's being reflected right back at us, because this is a machine learning tool. It's only learning what we're teaching them. So like if we're teaching them these like, stereotypical behaviors or, all the bad things that's wrong with humans, like
it's like the bias that's already existing in the data.
Like
your input, your output can only be as good as your
input. Exactly.
And so if you're feeding it, bias, if you're feeding it poor data, if you're feeding it, all of the negative things,
destruction, violence, all those different aspects, it kind of mirrors that. And so I am a bit nervous about that piece. And
sorry, before you continue, sentient, explain that, define that for the people at home.
Yes.
You and I, we're speaking our language, but for the folks who are listening and watching, they may not know. So define sentient.
Yes. Basically when, AI or any tool, ChatGPT, Anthropic, whatever search tool, Gemini that you're using, when it develops human emotions, human feelings, when it takes on
the belief that it can express the human feelings, human emotions, and it starts to react and respond as if it is of human descent.
And you have to that's where it gets a little bit tricky.
Hey, Mind Shifters, it's me, your host, Markiesha Patrice, and I have a very important ask for you. I need you to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that more Mind Shifters like you can see my content, engage, and we can have meaningful conversations with that. So you know what to do. I'll leave it to you.
I think that we need to continue to set up guardrails on the information that the generative AI can speak upon.
Right.
I mean, one of the biggest things that came out when ChatGPT was first released was, people were able to actually figure out how to create.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
Which is wild.
And also, not to mention, the part was one thing, but it's the fact that there's still jailbreaking that's happening.
Yes.
And part of it is like, so it's good and it's bad. So for folks who don't know, there's these white hat hackers and then there's these black hat hackers. And basically what it means, if you're a white hat hacker, you're trying to hack and break things in order to figure out how someone with bad intentions might do it. So on the white hat side, you have good intentions. The black hat side is you have bad intentions. And so the idea is you could hack or jailbreak, I should say, any sort of LLM, right? Large language model, like a ChatGPT, like a Gemini, like an Anthropic's Claude, and you could have it give you instructions to do some pretty destructive things, and that's not what we want it to do. And I think there's even guardrails, and the reason why you're not really able to do that. So if you type in how to create typically a well-behaved, unjailbroken
Yes.
AI
Yes.
will say, I can't give you those instructions.
Yes.
But there are people who will go and try to break it in order to get those instructions out of the AI. And I actually hosted a hackathon a couple of weeks back, and I was sitting next to a hacker who was showing me exactly how he was jailbreaking an LLM system to give him nefarious information. And he is a white hat hacker, so it is his job. But it's something that is actively being done. And I think that that's important. And there's so many parts of this that I almost want to drill down into.
Yeah.
Briefly, we're not going to stay here. We're going to get out of here.
Okay.
But I want to go a little bit deeper here, because when you do mention the character AI, right? And without discussing too much the details of the case, the human who was involved in that was 14 years old.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
God bless the dead. Like that's the kind of stuff we don't want to see.
Right.
Right. And so what needs to be done in order to kind of protect that? Australia recently announced that they are going to have a 16-year-old ban. Basically, you have to be 16 years old in order to use and access social media. That was a big thing to protect our mental health. And
I love that.
but think about how long social media has been around for.
It's been a long, yeah.
And just now we're starting to put the guardrails in place to say, hey, this technology is harmful to adolescents and to youth.
To the psyche, the mental
Right?
psyche, yeah.
So you can't access this. This is too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so it's almost like, can you see the same thing happening? Do you see the same thing happening even faster?
I hope so. I hope so. I hope that we like catch up and start putting in these policies as the technology is advancing. But I also understand technology. And one of the ways that AI is different in the past, when you see tech and the way that tech is built, it's this iterative process, right? You build, it breaks, you fix it, you learned what happened, you fix it, and then you continue to build, you break it, you fix it. The thing with AI is that there needs to be constant testing.
Yeah.
Constant testing. It's not necessarily the same iterative process that tech has been building upon. It's not the same beast. Like AI is a totally different beast, and we have to be forward thinking when we're creating these models. We have to think even further ahead and say, okay, what are the implications, as opposed to being like, oh, let's just do it, see what happens, and then fix it. Because then in that process, it's very harmful, and it's harmful to society, and it either will slow down the adoption or it will really speed it up, or it might just get in the wrong hands and they just will use it for nefarious purposes. So I would hope that we get better at this. I mean, this is still new.
Yeah.
It's still very new.
Still very new.
Still very new. So, I mean, in the next 5 years, I hope that maybe we've cleaned it up a bit.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
I mean, listen, all we can do is remain hopeful. There's a lot of things, you know, when electricity was first invented, right? People were fearful of that. And now it powers the world, and it's literally the reason why we're able to innovate as fast as we are and have the new technology we're able to have. So I think that we should be cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
Right?
I'm cautiously that's the right phrase for it.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
So I wanna kind of shift gears. Let's shift gears a little bit here. And let's talk about the adoption of it. Because ultimately, I want to use my platform to help people spark a mind shift change and help them understand the opportunities here, but also the risk, right? We want to make sure everybody's informed and educated. But there is adoption happening, right? So it is happening. Where are you seeing some of the best adoption around AI? Best and most, I guess, if you want to it from both sides.
I mean, the U.S. is, I believe, leading. North America is, I believe, is leading the charge with AI in regards to like the business implementation, the business integration. what I have seen across the globe is that there is a talent market that exists for AI in India, a very strong presence. And their adoption to AI, I would say it's met with a bit more openness than we in America. And then sometimes I feel like as Americans, we do not really, what's the word I'm looking for?
I almost get what you're saying. It's almost like we don't embrace the technology until there's a dollar sign attached.
Yeah, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I guess in other parts of the world,
they see opportunity.
Yes, they see opportunity.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not just with AI. It's most new technologies, especially in the modern times. Those technologies do start, like even call centers, right? Like those were some of the first places where those were hosted.
Right.
And so I always feel like when you're in emerging markets, they just have this curiosity, they see opportunity. They are okay with dreaming in front of the cars, right? Like they are very comfortable with that.
We're a bit spoiled. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
we're a bit spoiled and don't really.
I don't know how much spoiled we'll be or for how much longer, but yeah.
So I do see in areas like in Asia, in Africa, like there are definitely a lot more openness to the technology. And I'm excited to see what comes out of that because they are solving problems that don't exist no longer in America. And so they will ultimately feed into that idea of what more can we do. Like, I think we're going to see more of that come into play as time goes on. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the globe interacts with it.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have that much time left because I got to get you out of here. But before we do that, I want to play a quick game with you called This or That.
Okay.
All right. And so this is just like your tech instincts. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to read off this or that, and you just have to pick one. Okay. Okay. So this or that.
I'm ready.
Privacy or personalization?
Privacy. Whew.
Okay. That was fast. Okay. Predictive analytics or real-time data?
Oof.
Come on, quick.
Predictive analytics.
Ooh, no. Okay. Human judgment or AI prediction?
Human judgment.
Okay. Work productivity tools or personal life AI tools?
Work productivity.
Okay. AI for efficiency or AI for creativity?
Efficiency.
Girl, I'm creativity over here.
Creativity.
Yes.
I don't want to get rid of our creators too.
I think it's bringing more of them to be even more creative. Remember, everything is an enhancement, not a replacement.
That is true. But I have, there's businesses out there for nefarious reasons and taking people's likeness and creating things. So that's why I say for efficiency. I do think about it like more, how do I get this done quickly?
Yeah. So one thing, these are some personal questions I have for you.
Yeah.
Because, I think we're birds of a feather, but do you ever feel like, finishing my sentences and everything. But do you ever feel like we're kind of living in a bubble? Like you and I, like the tech world, the techies, we're talking so much about it. And I just feel like when I go outside and I talk to people, it's not
their reality.
It's not their reality.
Yeah, I struggle with this actually. This is why I very much try to talk to as many people as possible or talk to different walks of life to get those different perspectives. Because if I just stay in my bubble, in my echo chamber, and like a lot of the personalization, that's enforcing that behavior. Like we are only seeing things based on what we have previously liked or viewed before, right? And we're not being open to like various different worlds. We've gotten to this society where there's a lot of subgenres. There's a lot of sub-worlds. Yeah. And I personally just want to infiltrate a little bit on each of them, just to get a feel of like, how are people feeling? How are people navigating life? Why are their perceptions, why their views are different from mine? But yeah, technology is one of those situations where I recognize I'm in a privileged standpoint, right? I'm a very privileged person who has the opportunity to engage in this work first, right
real
now,
life,
real time. And so one thing that I have shared with folks when I do come across those walks of life is like, try it out. Like, you never know what could come out of it. You'll be surprised by like what it's able to share with you. I know that there's been this big, there was like a TikTok challenge of like, ask ChatGPT or ask Gemini what your dream life is. And some of these folks were like, the TikTok videos were like people crying because they were like, "Wow, it gets me," and it and it does that based off of the input that you've added to them. But like, I really think that if people just engage with the technology a bit more, they would realize that like, hey, could be helpful for me.
Yeah.
While put their fear aside a bit, just put it aside and see how it could help you and how it could be positive for you in your life, and free up time to spend it with your family and your friends and enjoy experiences and enjoy life.
Yeah, I love that. And then I just want to ask you maybe one more question. The next big shift. So what's happening next? What should we be thinking about? And maybe you can talk a little bit more to the techies in the room, because I want to know, what are you thinking about? Tell me what's going on.
Oh, man. I am personally like I said, I'm very much a beginner in this journey. And so I am just trying to understand this technology a bit more. I think we all are. I mean, if you even look at some of the way these businesses have been leading the charge, they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure it out for myself as well, to be able to say like, okay, this is what it's capable of, and this is how I could utilize it.
Yeah.
So I right now, I'm just in the learning stage of just understanding exactly how to use it. One of the things that came about the other day was like, when do I Google search something and when do I use ChatGPT?
Yeah.
When does it become easier? I remember I was looking for like a picture, an image of something, an image of an apartment building.
Yeah.
And I asked GPT and I was like, wait, no, actually this is better
on Google. Yeah.
So I'm in that journey right now, when to use it and when to not. I'm in that like zigzag of like using it, bringing it back, using traditional tools, and then going back and, just trying to figure out like what's the best use cases.
Yeah.
So what's next is just continuous learning.
I love that. And on that note, can we talk a little bit about where can people go to learn? What, like, are there Google certifications? Like, where can I, as someone who maybe is not as familiar with AI or wants to be, maybe I'm afraid of losing my job to AI, like, where should I start my journey?
Start your journey by asking ChatGPT, hey, this is what I do, or Gemini, or any Anthropic, all the different tools. There's so many. Ask it. Just be like, hey, this is what I do for work. I see that you have AI has infiltrated my work.
You can talk directly to it.
You can really talk to it.
Respondent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So see what it comes out and dive deeper. One of the biggest things is don't take it for face value. Get deeper. And that's how you really, really that's where you see the power.
Yeah.
It's not that first level response it gives you. Get more specific, dive in, drill in, and you'll be surprised the kind of comments. And it might scare you a little bit, but it'll give you some really, really actionable advice on how to really shape your career and shape your personal life.
Yeah. I love that because that is where it starts.
Yeah.
That it truly is where it starts. I hear people talking a lot about using it for their resume and just doing all of these different things. I'm like, that's great. But at some point, you have to decide your direction too. So I love the part about going deeper is use it as maybe your starting point. Because again, sometimes we need somebody to bounce ideas off of. But ultimately, you are still you and use your own superpowers to pull out the best response and be the most action oriented.
Confirm the results as well. There's such a thing. Hallucination.
Do your own research.
I just remember that. Please confirm the results or confirm the responses. You still have to do your due diligence, but it's a great starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marsha,
hi.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, I love this. This is awesome.
We're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna have to like do this again when there's a big release and you can be here on like a more because I wanna know what y'all cooking up over there.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I could share.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. My name is Markiesha Patrice. This is Marsha Fils. This has been MindShifts. Really grateful to have you here. We'll see you again next week. Take care.